Ian Smith here with Kellian Hockery. So here's our first tutorial on balance and how to manipulate it. Okay. Now, if we think about skating, all right, there's three things. There's balance, there's technique, and then there's strength. Right. The full thing behind the strength is like how much power you can take this weight and move it. Right. The technique is a long enough stride. There's talk about toe flick. There's talk about leaning forward, using your arms for counterbalance. So there's all those things about technique. But the thing that I find that's not talked about the most, but in my opinion, the most important piece is balance and how to manipulate it. So to understand, like, why can't I do it? I hear what you're saying. I see what you're doing. Why do I feel so clumsy out there? It's like, well, a lot of it's got to do with finding the balance. When we skate, a lot of times you are on one foot, which allows the technique to happen properly, and then combined with strength, you get efficiency, right? So I want to show you this one thing, okay? Our forward stride, okay? We start on one leg, we're turning the skate, and then we propel ourselves forward, and then we're going, okay? Now, when it comes to balancing, at any given moment, we're going to be on one skate, right? So when I'm pushing and then I'm bringing my skate back into return, I need to be able to lift my skate off the ice, get it close to me, and then I push out for the next stride, right? But what if I don't have the right balance, and as soon as I lift up my skate, gravity brings me back down, rather than me able to bring it all the way in so I can push out properly. So the balance piece is so important. So let's break this down for a little bit. How does something balance? Something balances because, you know, for example, this stick has mass. We can consider its mass to have a center. So there is something called the center of mass. It's where gravity is pulling on that. So if I find where I can balance, right? So the center of mass of my stick is right there, and my finger, it's so tiny, but it is underneath the stick so it can balance it. Should I move this center of mass over a little bit, and we don't have balance anymore and gravity brings us down? So let's think of our body, right? Our body's center of mass, but it's generally in the center of our body, right around our navel. So imagine a straight line from my center of mass down to the ground or the ice. Now, if you look at my 2 feet are planted, both those feet are planted on the ground, so that creates a support from one edge of my shoe all the way to the other, and my center of mass is somewhere in between it, so I'm balanced. Okay? If I lift 1 foot off and I only have my shoe, I'm no longer balanced and I fall to the ground. Okay? So how do we balance this? Now, I've done skating exercises where I'll have people skate down on the ice, and then I want you to lift up one skate off the ice and then kind of just balance yourself on 1 foot and go. And it's like, why do we do that? It's like, well, it's to develop balance, but if you don't know how to manipulate the balance, what happens is people will lift their foot, they'll either start to drift one way, or to counter that, they'll kind of, they understand that they have to bring their weight over here, and they're swimming in the air. So when it comes to balance, here's the secret. The balance that we get is by taking our center of mass, and it's not my upper body that I bring to get over on my leg so I can balance. It's my hip. So watch this. So now, if I'm like this, and I want to balance on 1 foot, I come to the ground. I can bring my upper body over here and lift my foot, and now I can balance. Or I can take my hip and I can move my hip out like that, and now look where my center of mass is. My center of mass is now above my, well, maybe a little more, above my shoe, and I can lift my foot and I can balance. That's how we manipulate our skating. So now watch. If I start on my one skate and then I push to the other one, as I shift over, I kick my hip out, so my mass is now over my skate, so that I have this long stride, my hip is out, and then so when I bring my skate back in there, so there's a little bit of tension, that's where the strength piece comes in, but I can bring my skate in without falling over, so, and I'm loaded here, so from here I would turn my skate, which just happens on the ice, and then you can push out to the other one. So now I'm pushing out to the other one, shifting over, see my hip, and my body comes over, and now I have that balance. And I'm loaded while I'm over there. So I have my hip down there. If you look, it's 90 degrees is too much. That's not enough to get a stride. So it's kind of in between where you feel this tension. So now I'm here, and then I can push with my arm. Well, my arms are in part of it, but we'll see the hip shift. I've loaded all my weight onto this skate, and I'm gliding and returning, and then I can push out for the next stride. Left, right, left, right. Take a look at, so look at this. So I got a video I found somebody on the internet. This skater. Look at her skate. There's a little video of her skating, and then she posted her skating style or things to do off the ice to increase the strength of your stride. Now just watch what she does here. Okay, so when she was balancing and she had her leg out, did you see her hip? Her hip was way out. She just naturally brings her hip out, and she's sitting there with her balance, and her hip is this way. Okay, look at this next one. This guy, he's the I-trained hockey fellow, and look at him stop. And look at how he's leaning and what's happening with his hip. When he does his stop, and he wants to go somewhere, the way he works on his balance to shift this way, he leans with his hip in order to make his stop, leans with his hip to get more weight on the inside leg so he can do a crossover. Now watch this video. This next fellow, he's working on tile on skates, and he's doing a tight turn. Now I want you to watch how he does a tight turn, and instead of just leaning his upper body, he drops his, to do his turn, he drops his hip in to do his turn. So that's where he gets his balance from, is in that hip. Now watch this clip. Okay, so how do we practice this? Okay, what we need to be able to do is to be able to take our hips and move them out. Imagine it's not your hip going this way, it's kind of your butt cheek going back at an angle like that. So imagine you had like something on a table, and you wanted to knock it off the table. That's how you get to this feeling of your hip out. So imagine that there's something there and you're gonna knock it off with your hip. Something over there, you're knocking it off. So it's slightly, it's not this way so much, well I guess, but to lock it all in, it's kind of slightly back to get that. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start feet shoulder width apart, and what we're gonna do is we're going to shift our weight from one foot to another. So here we go, we're just gonna go over to the right. Best thing you can do right now is when we do this is go in front of a mirror and look at your body. Like right now I'm doing it in my phone here and I'm watching, you can really see your hip come out. You wanna be able to see your body is straight here, and then when you come out to that way, you've got, your hip is way out that you can see it, okay? So we're gonna start by shifting our weight from our left to our right, or right to our left. So you just hold it there, and then you shift over, and then lock it in. And then so you're locking it in. Now I've got my knees slightly bent. Straight is never gonna work in hockey or any sport for that matter. So you wanna be slightly bent so that you can get this out there, and then you're just gonna shift over, find it on the left, find it on the right. Let's go back and forth until you can find it left and right, okay? Now the test is going to be coming out, you've shifted, and you should be able to lift your foot up and not go anywhere, totally balanced. Put your foot back down, shift over, lift your foot back up. Next one is we're gonna start on one foot, and I want you to just do a little hop to the other one and try and balance. So it's a little tiny hop. So it's just a little, tiniest little hop. So you're shifting your weight from, I tell you all the time, shift your weight from one foot when we're shooting, when we're passing, when we're skating, shift your weight. It's like, what is he talking about? This, shifting your weight when I pass, I start on my right, shifting here, and then I shift to my inside, and then I pass my puck, shifting my weight. When we shoot, we start on our back, shifted, shift. Like, it's the same, it's the concept that starts the whole thing. Okay, last one, bigger hop. So we start, try and load up, and then go as far as you can. So that's not too far, but then, we want to be able to, this is a plyometric exercise where you're starting down here and you're going as far as you can. You jump, catch yourself, and balance. And now that, if we rewind to our stuff we did before, where we're starting from here, then we went to smaller ones, you should be able to shift and then be totally balanced until, don't go any further, until that's set, and then you want to be trying to go as far as you can, hopping back and forth and getting that balance. Okay. After that, so that's balance. Get that, and all this other stuff that I talk about with the crossovers, leaning, tight turns, stops, the shooting, the passing stuff, it all comes from being able to shift properly. You shift with your hips. And it's best on your shoes because you have all this grip. Like on the ice, we have other problems, right? But with shoes, that's where we get it. The next thing that we do from here is we'll get on our roller blades and then practice some stuff with those. From the roller blades, then we move to the ice skates. So I'll see you at the next one.